basically sit on top of Travis Fimmel and make out with him.
That's the story I was looking for. Yeah.
That was my first scene. And we were the first rehearsal. And it wasn't like easy, like physically kind of having to pick my way over people. And I'm historically like such a people pleaser. I'm like really concerned, like I don't want to step on anyone. So I'm kind of being as careful as possible. And I get to like this cot that they have set up for Travis, and Travis is in there. And I go to try to like mount this cot and Travis, and I can't because like there's lumps in the bed, and I'm just like, what is going on? I'm like trying for way too long, and it's very awkward, and it would be hilarious if it's actually on film somewhere, because I can't do it physically. I can't figure it out. And then underneath the covers are Bob and Tig.
Of course.
Jefferson Hall and Tig Murphy, who played Torsten and Arne.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like pranked in the first rehearsal of everything. And, it helped, like having people do that. I actually felt really welcomed by it. Australians make fun of people that they have affection for. It's a very Australian thing to do. And I think the Irish are really similar. I felt so at home with the Irish crew. And it kind of took the pressure off, and everyone had a good laugh, and we moved on. But that was.
We used to have a big quiz night as well, didn't we? That was one of the first days you arrived. Didn't you just got off the boat and we did the big old quiz night?
Yes, I'd actually been in Ireland. I think I'd already been there for a week or two. And I didn't know what I was doing, and no one really kind of told me. And I was there, like I'd been flown in. So we were shooting like block episodes, right? So I have you guys talked about that.
Of course, yeah. So we're doing 3 episodes at a time. That's right. Yeah. So you were just in the last one, but you were here for the whole block.
Yeah. So I was in Ireland for that episode. I was in Ireland, I think, for 8 weeks for, like 4 scenes, I think. I'm probably getting the scene count wrong now. So I had a lot of downtime, and I'd flown in, and I didn't have a day on set for a while because, you have to go through some fittings and makeup tests and hair tests and stuff. And I think I'd been in Ireland about a week or two, and I had like, a hair test or a makeup test, and hair and makeup were telling me about the pub quiz that night. And I was like, well, I would like to come. And I sort of invited myself because I didn't know anyone. Yeah. Then I met all you crazy folk out at the pub quiz, Clive. And I think that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, but it was great though. I've never experienced that on another show. That the crew were just as much the family as the actors were, and we all tried to make an effort to get together as one. We'd have quiz nights, karaoke nights, and just general piss ups down the bar. But it was a very much like if we all go together kind of environment, and that was what's so special about keeping us all and that camaraderie during these crazy days and the rain and the hail and the wind, and as Ireland brings. I've never seen that on any other show. I don't know if you have, but I feel like we really did create a really nice environment for the cast and crew to kind of get along and bond.
I think so too. And I think it was Kevin that said to me when he came on, because I think we were so welcoming to our guest stars. And I don't think that's always the case on shows. But Kevin did mention to me that he felt so welcomed and a part of everything right from the beginning. And I think we did that really well by embracing everyone and including everyone. Yeah, for sure. And it's like a family. I mean, we had I lived with Maud. Like Maud and I lived together.
Yeah.
Which was brilliant. It was so great. I mean, that woman will be in my life until the day I die. We are very tight. Yeah.
I don't think the fans realize that Maud and Alyssa, Maud, of course, who was Oh my God, blanking on her name.
Helga.
Helga. Okay. I don't think the fans realized that Maud and Alyssa, Maud who played Helga, were total besties. You guys were like Mutt and Jeff. You were connected at the hip. You were the most delightful pair ever. And it was so sweet to see it, because sometimes, when you watch a show, you don't realize the amount of chemistry, sometimes good, sometimes bad, that's happening behind the scenes. But there were some really deep, deep friendships, and you two were a special one.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, we bonded very deeply and quickly, and still very tight to this day. I adore her. But we would have like Mario Kart parties.
I was about to say, my two things is you make a killer spaghetti bolognese.
Yes,
and
you
you're
do.
Killer at Mario Kart.
I do make a killer spaghetti bolognese. I will accept that and agree with it. Yes, I do. Mario Kart was amazing. What else are you going to do on location in Ireland where it rains all the time?
And also, I mean, what you had, I mean, together, you had some incredible costumes. I mean, Joan Bergen was able to make almost like an entirely Viking maternity range for you, because you had to pop out so many kids.
Always
pop out so many kids so quickly. But yeah. I mean, you want to talk about costumes and how you kind of, like, if you had that time before you started filming, like, how do you design Aslaug's costumes and the look that she has? Because she's very different to any of the other Viking ladies.
And did you wear a rubber belly?
I did. I had different sized bellies depending on where we were in the timeline. So yes, I had rubber bellies on. Going back, like I just I think maybe you guys can relate to this, but I tend to be a little overly critical of my work. And going back, I look at things and go, oh man, I didn't get the pregnancy waddle. I could have worked a little harder on that. Like, there are a couple of scenes where you just see me like sit down so easily, and I've got like this big belly. That was an oversight. My head was somewhere else and thinking about like a different part of the scene that was really important. But yes, I had lots of pregnancy bellies. The costumes that Joan did were outrageous. I mean, they were so incredible. Like the whole show, top to bottom. Like I'm mesmerized by what she was able to accomplish. Specifically for Aslaug, I wanted her, especially once she had kind of taken over Kattegat, I wanted her hunger for power portrayed in her costumes. I wanted her to care about appearances, because she did. Like she blew into town and was throwing her privilege in people's faces, essentially. And I wanted that portrayed through costumes, for her to care about the trappings of wealth and power, and for that to read on screen, and for it to kind of become almost all-consuming for her as well. And that extended to her children. She wanted her sons to go on and be very famous, because that was so important to her, and within Viking mythology as well.
Just to follow on with that, I admire that in you, Alyssa, as an actress, because I think when you know that you're going to make a choice with a character, you are going to purposefully be power hungry, and people don't respond well to that. And so for you to follow that through, and I think it was very true to the character. And I applaud you for going through and being like, okay, I might not be popular for this, but this is actually what the character would do. So I really thought you did such a good job.
I think women are judged much more harshly for things like that than men when it comes to characters on screen and in real life. There's still work to be done, but I mean, the male Vikings could be power hungry and wouldn't be judged for it, but Aslaug certainly was. Yeah.
But it's also breaking tradition, I suppose, because people are used to watching a historical drama and having the women are princesses and they just belong to the men as possessions and things. And we're showing something completely different. And we're showing a Viking society where women could actually divorce their husband. If their husband was weak or failed in battle or failed to provide for the family, or was impotent, she could divorce him. She would be able to bring her witnesses into the house. She would be able to divorce, and if anything, she could go and choose to be single and be on her own and keep the land. The husband would have to return any dowry that was arranged during the marriage, or she could go and marry whoever the hell she wanted and be completely free. And that sounds, it's not. It sounds still backward, but compared to the time and what we're used to watching when we watch, for instance, some of Michael Hurst's other historical dramas, the Tudors, for instance, where, Henry VIII is just able to just do what he wants with his women. It really was a time where women could, be the masters of their own kingdoms, the mistresses.
Yeah, I was nodding along to all of that, but I don't think the fans will see that I was nodding along.
But hopefully, or you were the first to break that mold, and now we'll go forward into the future, and this character stands for something, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see women doing not always having to be like, the Madonna whore, right? Like that whole complex, like seeing the in-between, seeing the good, the bad, the ugly, like all of that gray area. Like I said, I'm just kind of repeating myself at this point, but yeah, you're right, Clive. Viking society was actually, I think, ahead of its time.
And you work with lots of children as well. I mean, when I say lots of children, the same character was played by many different children. And you were a master of that. I would see, some of the fans got to see some of your Instagram posts and things when you're having fun with the kids, but I'd see it every day on set. You really did manage to bond with these children. And then you had to say goodbye to them as they grew up, and you get a different child actor to play with. I mean, how was it to work with so many different kids and to kind of majority of the time when Ragnar's away as your acting partners, these children?
Yeah, they were. It was so much fun. I mean, I thought I really loved the kids that I worked with. And I wanted to, I was very concerned about portraying a mum. But the boys that they cast were so incredible. I adored all of them, but I did jump feet first into developing relationships with them as quickly as I could, so that there would be a rapport on screen. That was really important to me, to see that, because I wanted it to be clear that Aslaug just adored all of her sons. Those boys were great. They don't teach you in any acting class that I have ever known of how to work with children, and that was a steep learning curve, because you're not just an actress on set. You're also an acting coach, a nanny, a director. Like,
yes,
you kind of wear a lot of different hats when you're working with those children, and that's not to like throw anyone under the bus and say like people weren't doing the job that they should have done and I had to take over. That's just, no, it's just the situation when you're working with a child is like, you go back to your first position before they yell action again, and you're the one standing with the child, and that moment before is what you have to create. And it's interesting, you kind of have to jump from going up, do you remember, we're going to walk over here, this is what we're going to do, you go from that and someone yells action and then immediately you have to be in character. And it was great for me as an actress to learn like to focus very quickly from one instant.
And they have child hours as well, so you have to do. They get so much more coverage, and it's all like, let's get the kids footage, and then sometimes the kids go away, and they're like, Alyssa, let's do you. We've got 5 minutes to get all of your coverage, and it's tough. You got to bring your A game right at the end of the day.
Yeah, you are not you're not underestimating what you went through at all. It is so hard, and even if the kids are really, really good, you're right. You don't have that selfish moment to just, the scene ends, then you go and you look at your sides and you kind of do things. You really are taking care of the kids because you want to nurture that relationship. Yeah. I had for my character's son, I had a set of twins, and they were adorable. They were the most beautiful, precious little boys, but they were 3 years old and they were kind of terrified. And their mom, who I loved, Belinda, she had to be in eyesight all the time. Otherwise they would freak out. And I was working my tail off to try to develop a rapport with these little boys so they weren't scared of me. And then I had to do one scene with the lovely Mo, who plays Aethelwolf, and I had to hold this little boy. We had to pretend like, and his brother, so they switched out the twins, and we had to pretend like it was freezing. They put blue on our lips, and then I had to eat this piece of meat, this piece of steak, and cry. And this little 3-year-old was looking at me with these bug eyes. And I was supposed to give the meat to him as well, but it wasn't working. It was so